what I'm thinking to say, so please stay in touch. You're aware lots and lots of happenings this morning, lots of serious words, lots of hope, lots of very, very bright possibilities. And I want to pick up what this man Isaiah says. It's an interesting book. It's probably, I think it is the longest book. I think he prophesied for more than 50 years. I think it is one man writing the book. Although some commentators in the 19th century had problems with how clear he could write of things in the future. And some would say it was written in the 5th century. That's what you'll get if you Google it, but I think it was written by one man in the 8th century BC. That's like 750. Anyway, chapter 6, remarkable chapter. Isaiah's probably 22 years old, something 40, but he's in his 20s. And boy, we can identify him. He's had a good birth, a good bringing up. Amos might be the brother of the king. He might be a cousin of the king. He's reckoned to be royalty, Isaiah. But he's an interesting man. Oh, he's interesting. He's in the temple, and the first 5 chapters aren't dated, but here's a definite date. It's the day that King Uzziah dies. Big thing. Uzziah had reigned for 52 years. He'd been a godly man at his start. He'd won many battles. Judah had now become the regional power. The major regional power to the east is rising, and it's Assyria. But Judah is beginning to threaten even that. But Uzziah loses it all because he's proud, maybe a little bit impatient. One day he goes into the temple and he offers a sacrifice because no priests are to be found. And you sort of think, well, this is one of the things that the Lord arranges because it completely shows what is in this man, Isaiah, a godly man up to this point, but it demonstrates that it's pride. It's absolutely pride. And in Israel, to be king is one thing, and to be priest is quite another. It's only Aaron's children that can be priests. Why is that? Well, it's because it's preparing the pattern for when Jesus comes, he's king and he's priest. So this is very, very holy ground. You can't mess with this. Anyway, as soon as Uzziah offers these sacrifices, a lot of the high priest, and I think it's about 80 priests, appear, and they're very brave. They're going to tackle the king. They say, "This is not your place, Uzziah, King Uzziah, to offer sacrifices to the Lord. You can't do this." And instantly the Lord strikes down the king with leprosy. Very, very visible leprosy. They are terrified of this disease, leprosy. So he's not deposed, Uzziah. He can keep his kingship, but he has to live in a separate house 11 years before he dies. So that's the background to Isaiah's calling, this godly man, 22. Can't you identify with that? Yeah, I can. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. Don't think it's a picture book. I saw the Lord in the temple, and his robe, his train, filled the temple. Oh, this is something. He's beginning to open up something that we hardly know what the word means. He's going to talk about holiness. Isaiah uses the word holiness 25 times. That's way, way more than all of the rest of the Old Testament put together. Micah is a prophet at the same time, doesn't use the word holiness. So it's not the in thing, but something gets hold of Isaiah, he's seen the Lord. He's seen heavenly beings, but that's not the real thing. But he cries out. He says, Lord, this is all, I'm quoting Isaiah chapter 6. Do you mind if I just carry on? What I want to do is actually, this book's fired me up over years, and then you get reading it, and it's okay to cherry pick, but I want, which we all do, because these scriptures will be read to us at Christmas, lots and lots of things. Fascinating. How does this man see so much? Well, here's the answer. His call, he sees the Lord. He's in touch with the Lord from this point onwards. He's going to do a fair bit in the first 5 chapters. I think they will be preached messages outside, and I'll just mention a couple of them. But what I really want to do is to get you fired up to look at this, to keep going, because even though terribly dark things are going to be talked about, there's always hope. There's always hope. There's the Messiah to come. And there's always hope for us. We'll see in the Isaiah's vision just a little mention of the altar. It's going to be a burning coal taken from the altar, touches his lips. I'm sure this is a real event. It's not a picture language. Why does that have to happen? Because Isaiah said, well, Lord, woe is me. I'm a man of unclean lips, and I live amongst the people of unclean lips. What's that in English? He probably tells dirty jokes, like most people, 22-year-old. He probably laughs at dirty. Probably he's aware that he is not holy, and there is the holy God, and he's not been burnt up. As soon as he says those words, as soon as he gets real, because that's pretty real, in God's presence, one of these heavenly beings takes a hot coal, comes off the altar, touches his lips. There you are, you're clean of your iniquity. Why is that so relevant to us? Boy, it is relevant. Well, there's just enough picture of an altar amongst all the smoke that's filling the temple. There's the altar. It's the altar that gets Isaiah clean and accepted. It's the altar that gets us clean and accepted and free to be of some use to him, to be part of his church. That's the great thing for us. We're not sort of solitary prophets wandering off. We're part of a working church. That's the great aim now. Doesn't matter if you're a cog, a little cog, but be part of the Lord's cog in the Lord's church. But that's what's on offer. Bright, bright hope to be part of the Lord's church. Now, because how are we going to portray this holiness of God? Because we have to. We have to. Otherwise, it's another gospel. It's not the real one. All may come. Of course, all may come. But all must be changed. Must be changed to this holiness. So, this is chapter 6. Yeah? Do read it. Do note the altar is there. What's our altar? What's Calvary? So much going on there, we can hardly... Of course, we can't understand it all. There was a time when the Lord was made sin. That's when he cries out, why have you forsaken me? It was then. Serious, serious things. Worth studying, worth having words to explain. Yeah, keep going. That's the answer. I've made some notes. In fact, I was talking like this the other day, and Rowan made the notes. She said, look, you're not a lateral, a linear thinker. Most people who speak are going to be linear thinkers, right? One thought after another. I don't work like that. And a good quarter of you won't work like that. You get one thought here, and then another thought comes in. And another thought comes in. Well, put them on paper, because this is quite legitimate. I did teacher training, and it's quite okay. It's a release because you've got to handle all these different thoughts and find a way of expressing them. Do you want to do that? Do you want to find a way of expressing God's holiness in words that people can understand? I want to. I really want to. And there are words to be got. Maybe it's from the scriptures. Maybe it's from this 22-year-old when he's starting off. But somehow we've touched holiness, or holiness has touched us. Here's a phrase that I read somewhere. The God who is transcendent in holiness, transcendent means above, just somewhere else, way above. That God, right? So there's only one God like that, has brought himself into a close relationship with a specified people whereby they may claim that he is theirs and that they are his. So I'll put that into English. God, the holy God, has done something, and it's legitimate to say that I'm God's and God is mine. You can say that legitimately amongst any people that care to argue the toss with you. I know that I'm God's because of his altar. I know that he's made me his and that I'm part of God's people, part of God's church because of what he's done. And that will not change. That's set. That's done. Why did the Old Testament blood sacrifices work? Lambs, bulls. Well, it's because they knew that it was set in heaven that Jesus would come. The cross would happen. That's why it worked in the Old Testament. Nothing magic about lambs, bulls. It isn't. It's because they're looking forward. And once God says it's going to happen, it's as good as done. Just a matter of time. We are free because of the cross and the resurrection of Jesus. It's important. Isaiah chapter 6. Little vision, little picture. There's an altar there. And it's got coals on. And a red hot coal taken from the altar cleanses Isaiah. What's the picture? Things can happen instantly. When somebody gets really real with God, things happen instantly. He hears. And he acts instantly. And in that picture, red hot coal, problem solved, Isaiah. You go and talk for me. I bet he had a blister on his lips all the time. And it wasn't a punishment. It wasn't. It's Isaiah, remember it. It's real. You didn't do that. You prayed. I heard you. Done. So you're clean. Why am I going on about this? The first 5 chapters of Isaiah are remarkable, but they've helped me to somehow get hold of this whole book. Because although these first 5 chapters were preached, I think outside, probably outside the temple, because he's alluding to temple religion a lot, and he blows it apart a lot, it's like a backdrop to the whole of the book. First 5 chapters I can handle. Really, really serious, but always hope. Get real, always hope. Get real, instant answer. Instant healing. Instant newness. We've heard a word, a new heart. Instant. If God does it, instant. So, why am I saying all this? Well, I haven't underlined this bit of my Bible, but you can sort of cope with five chapters. The Lord says, look, you're my people, and I've raised you to be my children, and you don't recognize me. That's the early part of chapter 1. It goes on here, talks about political things, 7. Your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, strangers devour your land in your presence. It's all going wrong. But there's hope if you'll get real. Turn over a page, or me anyway, I'll turn it over. Oh, here's a little horticultural comment. So the daughter of Zion is left as a booth in a vineyard, as a hut in a garden of cucumbers. Temporary. It's temporary. Look, it looks like it's all working now. This is temporary. It's going to go. And I'll move it, the Lord's saying to him. If you don't hear what I'm saying, the message that's going to come through, God is holy. And that's your salvation. But if you won't listen, if you won't pick it up, if you won't respond to the clues, if you miss it, there's no excuse. It's a fearsome thing to be in the hands of a holy God. Men have used that phrase in preaching. There's one, maybe I don't go down that line, but you can see it online. In North America, there was a preacher. That was the title. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. I don't know that I could do that. I don't know if I can, but I think that godly man could, because he could get them to be real and cry out to the Lord and met instantly. That's the story, met instantly. Anyway, this is really what I wanted to say. Verse 10, I wanted to read all of this, a bit long, but I'll try and read it with expression and punctuation. And you remember Sodom and Gomorrah, terrible disaster. Abraham's there. Abraham pleads with the Lord, will you save 50 down to 5? That's not the main story, really. The main story is 2 cities were obliterated by God, obliterated for what was happening. Isaiah knows that. All the people that he's speaking to know that. Chapter 1, verse 10. Hear the word of the Lord, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear to the law of our God, you people of Gomorrah. What's he just said to them? He's just said a massive thing to them. Watch it. I can't tell a difference between you and Sodom, and you're the ruler, you people. I can't tell the difference between you and the world that was once Gomorrah, that was once destroyed by God. Now look, there's hope, but hear what I'm saying, and it goes on. 11, to what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices to me, says the Lord? I've had enough of burnt offerings of rams outside the temple, and the fat of fed cattle. I do not delight in the blood of bulls or of lambs or goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required this from your hand to trample my courts? Bring no more futile sacrifices. Incense is an abomination to me. The new moons, the Sabbaths, and the calling of assemblies cannot endure iniquity, and the sacred meeting, your new moons, your appointed feasts, my soul hates. They're a trouble to me. I'm weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. That might be the high priest who had the names of 6 tribes of Israel here and the other 6 here. And he had all 12 tribes there. And maybe he prayed like that. Maybe that is the seriousness of this. It's really, really going wrong. It couldn't be more serious. This is preached by a young man who's just seen God. And they listened to him, because, boy, he must have authority. Why didn't somebody just run him through? They didn't dare. They didn't dare. But he's just saying, look, the whole temple sacrifices, you're not doing it right because your heart's not in it. Now, he doesn't use that phrase, but ask yourself, really, why isn't this working? They've got everything. They've got loads of priests. They've got the high priest. Everything will be perfect. Plenty of lambs, plenty of bulls, plenty of doves. Why is it wrong? Well, it only works if your heart's in it, if you really repent. Forget all the rest. But once you get real, one prayer, when you're real, Isaiah, Lord, I'm a man of unclean lips, instant response. I'm painting a picture of something really serious happening here. This is a backdrop to the whole of the book, right? There's 65 chapters. Always hope, always, and remember the hope for us, be part of a working church. That's the hope for us. Whatever I do, Lord, I want it to bring your glory. When I pray, I can only pray what's in my head. Please put things in my head, but I want to go with all my heart because I know there's a holiness here. It's beyond. But you've done enough to make me part. You've joined yourself to me. You've joined me to yourself. Make me part. I want to be part fully just when I get real. So it goes on. There's more. Am I going to read more? I don't think I will. It's not negative. How can this be so strong? The biggest system that was ever set up, I think, of religious activity, the temple of God, using God's methods, God's high priest, God's sacrifice, everything that God had set up, none of it works if the people's heart isn't in it. If the man bringing this massive great bull, well, it'd be 1 year old, wouldn't it, bull, if he hasn't prayed before, and Lord, I don't know how this works, but please forgive me for what I've done. If he hasn't prayed that prayer, forget the bull. Bull's nothing. I think the bull is just to show you, there you are, you've offered that, you've done everything that I wanted, I forgive you. There's forgiveness in the Old Testament. It might happen again next year, but there is real forgiveness in the Old Testament if they're real. But if they're not real, you'll get a young man saying this to you, and you better listen to him. Don't silence that voice. Oh, we could go on. We could go on. It's wonderful when you can see the Messiah's coming. And they're just beginning to realize it's a man, but it's more than a man. It's more than the best man they've ever seen. It's more than David. It's much, much more than David. David sinned and left his family in a terrible mess for generations. Was David's sin forgiven? Yes, it was. Was the consequences to David's action? There were terrible. And what happened with Solomon and when the kingdom was divided after? It's terrible for political, I forget the word now. To hold it together, the man who went to the northern kingdom took 10 tribes. He was given them by God. He made 2 altars. He introduced idolatry at an incredible level to Israel. The costs of that. He was turned into, his arm became leprous. Oh no, well, I can't remember. His arm went dead, and the prophet who'd brought this message to him prayed, and the Lord healed his arm there and then. You can read this. I think we're into 2 Chronicles now. I want to stop there. I want to just pass on. If this is your bent, and if you're not a linear thinker, well, find a way of doing it, find a way of recording it. If I could have found a whiteboard, I would have put this on a whiteboard, because there's another great quote here. Oh, yeah, this is the quote. I'll read it. So Isaiah's literature, the whole of Isaiah's literature is an analysis of this order of sin, confessed, forgiveness, holiness, service. All of Isaiah is about that, and it's full of hope, absolutely full of hope, but get real. Let's go on, brethren. Let's see if the Lord takes us further. I think he might.